The past 3 years as a student at Bournemouth University has built my confidence, given me so much experience, and I've had the opportunity to meet so many people. I'm so grateful for the life I've had here and the close friends I've made, but it also makes me appreciate those I have at home. I live in Cheshunt, Hertfordshire, with my mum Sam, my dad Jimmy, my 2 siblings Alfie and Macy, and my cat Bonnie. I've learnt to appreciate the times that we have together more than ever. My experience of spending my sweet 16 in lockdown and receiving mock grades in my GCSEs was far from normal. The COVID-19 pandemic hit my family and I hard. It was the worst experience of my life. I'm Libby, and this is my story.
Hi Nan, you okay?
Oh, it's lovely to see you.
Yeah, you too. Can you take me back to the first time that you met Grandad?
Oh, I was working in Enfield at Thorns actually, and I met him one afternoon when we went to the pub for a drink after work. I went back to the pub with a friend in the evening because there was a group playing, and your granddad was there, and he was gorgeous.
Yeah. You and Grandad Terry used to go to Spain a lot.
Yeah, he had a friend that had a place over in Spain, and we used to hire it every year. So your granddad used to work hard, and it was a nice break for him.
I remember because we went out there once as well, didn't
Yes,
we?
yeah, you came. I think it was my birthday, and it was a big birthday. It was my 60th birthday, yes, and you all came and we celebrated it together. It was great, really lovely.
You sometimes think about that?
I do, a lot.
Yeah.
I think our last holiday was 2019, just before COVID broke, and I've not been away since.
In central China, a man has died following an outbreak of an unknown pneumonia-like virus, which officials say comes from the same family as the deadly SARS virus.
The man was initially taken here with flu-like symptoms.
Mysterious new virus.
Coronavirus.
There are fears a rapidly spreading virus has reached Australia.
Rapidly emerging situation where there is not a cause for alarm.
Unwelcome but expected, the coronavirus has hit the UK.
The World Health Organization has officially called it COVID-19. CO for corona, Vi for virus, D for disease, and 19 because it started last year.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe.
Around the world, there have been 121,000 cases.
The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades, and this country is not alone.
The UK has reported a record number of single-day COVID-19 infections.
Every part of the United Kingdom is now in lockdown.
Another grim milestone in this pandemic, with the highest number of deaths recorded.
You must stay at home.
The NHS on the brink, the PM out of options.
Nurses are being trained in using protective clothing.
Doctors and nurses will be forced to choose who would live and who would die.
Coronavirus is a national emergency. Anyone can get it and anyone can spread it.
What was your initial reaction when you saw the COVID-19 outbreak on the news?
The first reaction was that it was just all made up. As it got worse, we realised that it wasn't made up and that it was a dangerous thing that was happening to us in our country. So when the lockdown came, we stayed in, and it was very hard. I came down with it first, so I slept in the back room because I didn't want your granddad to come down with it, but he'd already got it. He came home the next day from work and said he felt dreadful and that he wouldn't be going to work the next day. We was in bed for 4 days before we decided to do a test. So I ordered the tests, they came and we did them, sent them off, but the next day Grandad had a fall. So I was trying to help him and I realised that he was not with me. He was very incoherent, so I called 999. My image of him going to hospital was them bringing him down the stairs in one of them chairs and putting him into the ambulance. I asked if I could go with him and I was told flatly no. And then he was in hospital for 6 weeks. I spoke to him a couple of times on the phone, but then he started to get very breathless and I didn't want that for him. So that was it. We didn't. Then Auntie Marie got the call on the 13th of November to say that he was fine and he was doing well. And then on the 14th of November, the Saturday, she got another call to say that he was dying.
Yeah.
We had to all go up to the hospital. Only 2 of us was allowed to go in to see him. I was only allowed 15 minutes with him. I had to put this hazmat suit on, gloves, shoes. I couldn't touch him. I couldn't kiss him.
In that moment when you need to hug someone the most, even just to grab their hand, and you can't?
No.
Yeah.
No. So, yeah.
What was your initial reaction when you walked in?
I just couldn't believe that I was going to see the man that I'd been married to for 46 years and be told that he was dying. I was scared.
Yeah.
Scared that he wasn't going to come out of it, in which he didn't.
What lasting effects has the whole pandemic and what happened had on you today?
Today, it's just disbelief that it was real, but it is real. I miss him desperately, desperately miss him. His grandchildren, I know, miss him. His 9 grandchildren is a blessing for us. I just feel happy that he saw the last grandchild before he died. Lasting effects, Libby, is just, it's just heartbreak all the time, you know.
It doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away, it never will.
No.
He was my true love. I just wish he was here.
Still to this day, it's hard visiting the cemetery, knowing he isn't here with us anymore. But I like to reflect on the memories I have of my granddad and remember how much he meant to me. It was nice to see my Nan Ange and talk about the memories we shared with my granddad Terry. She was so strong. Whilst being back in Cheshunt, I went to visit my mum in her childhood home and to also see my other Nan, Mags. My mum and I are really close, so talking about her perspective during the pandemic was an important aspect of this documentary. Being at university for a while, I haven't had the chance to see her as often, so talking about our experiences together was so valuable to me.
What was your relationship like with Grandad Terry?
Well, I met your dad when I was 13 and he was 15. So Grandad Terry to me was quite close to him. I'd just ring him up and say, right, we need you, can you come round? Can you fix this? Can you fix that? Because he was constantly always going to do that for us. We had a little bit of a love-hate relationship, to be honest.
I know.
Yeah. When we used to bring the kids around, he'd be like, right, you go home now.
Yeah.
I've had enough now. I just want to sit on my chair and relax.
Yeah.
I'd wind him up and go, no, we'll stay for another 5 minutes. He was a really good person. He was like a dad to me. In February, we got back from Paris, and then lockdown happened in March.
Yeah.
You know, we all went into lockdown. It was like, wow, the world stopped. Wicked. Do you know what I mean? I remember being really hot. And everyone getting the drinks out in the garden and just having we was all having fun.
Yeah.
But the swimming pool out, it was just us on our own as a family. And then obviously in the second lockdown, it wasn't the same as the first one. So we hadn't seen Grandad Terry or Nanny Ange for all that time. And then in October, we got a phone call to say that Nan and Grandad had COVID. And at that time, also, I got COVID. And then you got COVID. And we all got COVID together. In relation to Grandad Terry getting it, it really was a shock. Because he was just such a normal, healthy person. Grandad Terry was rushed to hospital. He just struggled with it, and then they put him into ICU. And then at that time, you think he was hearing lots of people dying from ICU. They couldn't cope with it. You didn't know what was going on or how it was going to be. Then they said that they were going to wake him because he went into reduced coma. They gave us a phone call to say, Friday, you may be able to FaceTime him. It was a Friday. But then, so Jimmy, Dad was really looking forward to that. And the last time we was on the phone with him, he said to him, Dad, be strong. And he went, I will, son. Dad, it hit him really bad. Hit Dad bad.
And I think it still is as well, isn't it?
Yeah, don't shake.
It's okay. It's just really hard, isn't it? So obviously, yeah, we were dealing with Grandad Terry, like going through that grief as well.
Oh, lips, a hug. I'm so brave. With Grandad Peter, it was like, because he had underlying issues and medical issues, that was the main thing, that if you had a underlying problem, you were more at risk of not making it. Then when Mum phoned and said Dad had got COVID, my heart just went. I thought, no way, there's no way he's going to survive it. I came straight here, and I had to stand outside the house. Nan come out with her gloves on, and I looked in, and he was laying on the bed, and he was really, really poorly, and he couldn't hardly breathe or anything. So we called the ambulance. They came in, they said, unfortunately, we'd have to take him to hospital. And I just thought, this is the last time I'm going to see him.
When he got COVID, I was like, well, he's been through sepsis, so like, come on, maybe he'll pull through, especially after just losing Grandad Terry. I was like, oh, I can't do it again.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know. We got a call to say that we can come and see him, which was quite surprising because you weren't allowed in the hospitals. So me and my brother, both of my brothers went down there and went in to see him. We couldn't go in and see him together, weren't allowed. They were going to give him end-of-life care. So basically he had palliative care, so that was going on at the time. So I couldn't sit there with my brother saying goodbye to my dad together as a family, like as normal. You normally would. Do you know what I mean? You have to, if you've been presented with your dad having end-of-life care, you'd think that you'd have the whole family there saying goodbye.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. It was so hard. I got brought into a side room in the hospital. And then, forget the nurse, she had a mask on and her eyes were just filling up with water. And then she said to me, I'm afraid to tell you that I don't think your dad's going to pull through. We can take him to ICU, but because he's very poorly, we don't think he's going to survive it.
And at one point you went in and you gave him water, didn't you?
I did, yeah, and I think that's what did it for me. He had a really massive coughing fit and he couldn't breathe and he went really red and he was just like, couldn't breathe or anything. So I tried to call a nurse, but there wasn't no one there. There was no one around. It was just it was chaos, complete chaos. And in the end I managed to call someone in and they said to me that I mustn't give him water like that because I'm drowning his lungs. And that was then I just thought, no, I'm going to make things worse. So I came out to him and said, look, I don't think I can do this anymore. And he said, all right. He said, so I think we have to say our final goodbyes now. It was New Year's Eve, and then we wouldn't see the New Year in. And then Wayne phoned up the hospital and said, any news on my dad? He said they would check. Again, they would check. So they didn't actually have it anywhere near them to say if he was okay. They could, like you would normally. So they came back to us and they said that he'd passed away. Gonna get these flowers in there.
Do you reckon the ones in the middle?
Yeah, I think so. Shop later, yeah? Neil's gonna have some time. Take care.
Okay.
All right, see you later.
Just thinking back actually on the funeral, that was so different, like from a normal funeral.
Yeah.
You could only have like 30 people. They had recordings, so you'd log in online. So back home, all the other family members would be watching it while we're there.
Yeah.
They just he came out the hearse onto a trolley, and then Uncle Darren and Uncle Wayne pulled it in.
Yeah.
And we just walked behind it.
You read a poem, didn't you?
I did, actually. This was a poem about my mum and my dad. So because my mum was just amazing, like throughout of my dad's life, she was his rock, she cared for him. Right, okay, here goes. Right. As we say goodbye, we'll always remember you. Our hearts are broken, but this is true. We are at peace now, knowing you are too. Yeah.
Does that kind of take you back a little bit?
They said, is there anything you want from your dad? But because it was COVID, once the body was gone, that was gone. There's nothing, you couldn't get anything out of it. You couldn't see him again. So we were said, can you take Dad's wedding ring? And in normal times, I would take the wedding ring myself, because if it was end of life care, I could be sitting with him, saying my goodbyes and taking the ring with me. We phoned them and they said, I said that someone had taken the ring, and they was like, oh, okay, we need to find out where that ring is, and had found it in a medical cupboard. They must have been taking things off of people because the bodies were just going straight away. As soon as they died, they had to go. How do you know they're actually giving you the right coffin or the right person?
Yeah.
Because I just had this fear, like this thinking of all of these coffins just lined up in the morgue, because there were so many bodies in there. There's so many people passing away like every minute of the day. And I know that for a fact because I was there in that hospital and I saw that. He used to be such a fun dad when we were younger. We used to go on a caravan holidays together. My childhood was a lovely childhood. Yeah, I had a really lovely upbringing, lots of family and lots of fun. Having to process that, along with losing Grandad Terry.
Yeah.
Not only have I lost my father-in-law, I've now lost my dad 6 weeks later to the same thing, to COVID. They were choosing who they could save and who they couldn't. You know, and that my dad was one of the ones they couldn't save, and they chose not to. That was hard because they tried to save Terry, Grandad Terry, they tried. So I was kind of caring for your dad and looking out for him more than myself, and I sort of shoved my grieving to the side. Then obviously when I lost my dad, I felt like I didn't have the time to grieve for my dad, and as much as I could have. And I knew obviously getting COVID, he definitely wasn't going to pull through. It was easier to process that than it was Grandad Terry.
It was difficult revisiting those experiences with my mum, but her support helped me through. She has always been so strong and resilient for my family, and I'm so proud of her. It was lovely to reflect on the memories I shared with my granddad Peter, reminding me of the positive moments that I'll treasure forever. I went back to Bournemouth to interview Karen Fowler-Watt, Professor of Journalism and Global Narratives at Bournemouth University. As an expert in her field, she gave me an insight into the impact of trauma in the bereavement process. It was valuable to learn how this was unique during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Around the world, globally, trauma is clearly affecting young people in very different ways. One thing that I think your generation has specifically experienced is the pandemic. And this was something that, my generation hadn't experienced either. It was new to everybody. We were navigating something which was completely unknown. And one aspect of trauma, which can be a sort of moral injury aspect, is that we observe or experience something which we're out of control of and we feel is abnormal. And the pandemic was abnormal. Our lives were completely transformed by it. For many, confidence was a massive issue, lack of confidence, anxiety issues, feelings of isolation. Your response to trauma depends very much on your own psychosocial, biological makeup, your own context, your own surroundings. Sometimes people might be taking themselves away, isolating. Sometimes people turn to self-medication, drinks, drugs, different substances that they may decide to take to try and numb the pain. There are difficult emotional responses to grief, such as guilt, and sometimes even shame, actually, but guilt particularly that we're the one who survived. And also the really painful aspect of memory, where, just the missing of that person is so, that's your mind is filled with that. For people who suffered grief and loss and bereavement in the pandemic, many thousands of people, they had the guilt of not being able to be there, often to be with whoever it was that they were close to who was dying at that time, to support them, to hold their hand, to say those final words. A lot of people are still struggling from the effects of the pandemic. We're 5 years on now. The COVID inquiry and the testimonies that we're hearing there from emergency services, from frontline workers, from victims, survivors, are very poignant, very powerful, trying to help us to learn the lessons of the pandemic so that we're better prepared. Thinking specifically about grief and loss and the coping strategies that you might employ, I'm never going to speak for any individual. Individuals will choose their own strategies, and we're all different, we're all unique. One of the key ones really is to talk to people, not to hide away, not to deny or detach, but to engage with others, to share your experience, to talk about the person you've lost is actually a very major part of keeping that person's memory alive. And taking time to care for yourself, which I know can sound like quite a difficult thing. It might seem like a selfish thing when you've experienced grief, but actually it makes you more resilient in order to cope and to be there for those around you who are also grieving.
Since I decided to take on this project, I have been in contact with Deborah Lewis, founder of the organisation COVID-19 Families UK. I drove to Milton Keynes for the National Day of Reflection on March the 9th, 2025. This day was really important to me. It was filled with love and support, and it was so nice to be part of the community.
COVID-19 Families UK is a network of support groups across England and Wales for anyone that's been bereaved during the pandemic. We offer friendship and emotional support, and now that we're out of lockdown restrictions, we can do things like our bereaved will meet for coffee, they will go to places together, they will meet in person. They will offer that human contact, which especially for those who live alone and are now bereaved, that contact with somebody who understands what they've been through can make all the difference. I set up COVID-19 Families UK just a few days after losing my own father. We'd just gone into lockdown restrictions. It was very early in the pandemic. And I remember feeling very alone, quite frightened, with a lot of questions, but more importantly, there was nobody to talk to. I decided that it was important to try and reach out to others so that at least we could communicate with one another. The main blessing I've found, there have been pandemics in the past, but what we've never had in the past is social media. And social media during the lockdown proved absolutely vital for so many different reasons, but especially for an organisation like us, where the bereaved can reach out and talk to each other.
Every emotion is valid.
I found out about COVID-19 Families UK via our past mayor. She was the one that pointed me in Debbie's direction, and I'm so glad that she did, because I am happy that an organisation like this is available.
Our very first event was the first one ever to be held anywhere in the country to pandemic loss, and that was in Milton Keynes. That was June 2021. In 22, we decorated Westminster Bridge in London with yellow hearts. In 23, we hired a ferry in Liverpool and we took the bereaved across the Mersey. So we did the ferry across the Mersey where we scattered rose petals into the water. And then last year we did central Milton Keynes, and this year we're in this beautiful setting. The COVID-19 National Day of Reflection is a day for all those affected to remember and reflect. I made a promise to myself and to others that I would do my utmost to make sure that nobody was grieving alone. The grief during lockdown was entirely different, because all your normal, what we call your normal behaviours during grief, just didn't happen. Ordinarily, people would come together, your neighbours would, or your friends would come to your house, you'd meet, you'd plan the funeral, you'd hold a wake. None of that was possible during the pandemic. And those are part of the normal grieving processes. So for many people, they really struggled to move through their grief because it felt like they hadn't been able to mark the grief properly.
What we experienced is unique. What we went through is over and beyond bereavement. Bereavement in itself is hard, and having to be bereaved during COVID is even harder.
The bereaved community are very, very tightly knit because it's very hard to understand what it was like for them unless you actually went through it yourself. But all communities coming together and supporting one another is extremely important, and that's why I like to make these community events. It's come such a long way in the 5 years now. Originally it started off as one Facebook post. We've now got 44 regional groups across the whole of England and Wales. We have over 5,000 bereaved who are now feeling that they have an outlet for their grief and their support. I'm extremely proud of what it's become. I'm more proud of the fact that I can be safe in the knowledge that if somebody does need to reach out, there is going to be somebody there for them.
Community strength, community's comradeship, it's collaboration. It is like a foundation that holds people together. When you have community, you have everything because we share a common bond, you know, for what we went through during COVID-19.
I'd like to thank everybody that supported the bereaved over the years and ask them that although the pandemic is over, to please keep supporting the bereaved. The pandemic may be over, but their grief isn't.
What is an average day like for you now?
I just go with the motions every day, get up. I still get up and think it's not true, even though it's 4 years now. I still feel it's not true.
Yeah.
But it is, and I've just got to get on with it. But it's hard. It's hard.
What do you do when you feel sad?
I look at photos and I light a candle. I light candles every day actually for him, and then just reflect.
The photo that I always see on my camera roll is where we're on that Lilo.
Oh yes.
And we've got Macy, Alfie, me, and then Grandad's in the middle. Are there any like support groups that you kind of reached out to, or?
One on Facebook. It's COVID Families UK. You realise that you're not the only one. There's a lot of people out there that are suffering like we are. Mm. And I am suffering because, as I say, I've missed him so much. 46 years is a long time. I remember him saying to me, oh, not long, 4 years, we'll be our 50th. Yeah. But we never got there. Must be hard for you as well.
Yeah.
He would have been so proud of you. He is proud of you.
He is proud, yeah.
I love you, darling, I really do.
Mr. Karen, on a Friday afternoon, you'd ring Mum up and say, can you pack up the van? By the time we got home, we took up and go. We'd all get in the van and go.
Just go like that? Yeah. Lots of family holidays.
Yeah, it was always down the coast.
Local.
Walton,
Yeah.
Harwich, Clapton. Yeah, Dad always loved Walton. He wanted to go down
Yeah.
Walton.
How are you coping now?
I still feel like it's unreal that it's happened. I feel bad about it still, and I feel sometimes I get like, upset when I'm talking about it, but I kind of think to myself, you know, because I'm a kind of strong person and I'm always holding things together for my family and for everyone. I feel like I'm one of these people that I carry it with me, but instead of carrying it in front of me, it's beside me. Having to help you guys through it, for me, it was really hard. You will never ever forget any of it.
No.
But you have to live with it. You have to live with it.
Thank you for doing this on behalf of Nan as well.
Yeah.
So I know it's hard for everyone, and to actually come forward and talk about it is really hard.
Yeah. It needs to be out there that it was not a normal time. It was such a horrendous time, and families everywhere were suffering with the same thing. And to this day, it's still raw. It's still raw. But I do think that sometimes I would like to have a little space, a moment of myself, and think, you know, Sam, you've lost your dad too. You know, not only have you lost your father, you've lost your dad too. But I do carry this little necklace of Dad.
Yeah, it's always with you.
Yeah, it's always with me, so he is with me. I only wear this on special occasions, and today was one. So he's here with us.
There is no such thing as closure. I think this is a very important aspect of talking about trauma. We want to be strong for those around us. We are surrounded by people who have also lost this person, these people. Trauma awareness is key not only to resilient individuals but resilient families, resilient societies, resilient groups of people. I think the idea of community is something that's come out of the pandemic as well. There are many things that we can be more reflective about, more aware of the importance of. And I think now we realise that all life is fragile. Perhaps we really talk about loss more openly now. If we can talk about death, understand death more, if it's not a taboo subject, that perhaps is a real bonus, if you like, a positive to have come out of the really horrific experience of living through a pandemic.
I knew this documentary would be tough, being so close to my heart. And although my granddads are no longer here to watch me grow up, I feel proud to have created this tribute in loving memory of them, letting people know how amazing they were and how heartbreaking a time the pandemic was for so many. I hope others know that they aren't alone in their grief, and by supporting each other, we will get through.
Do you remember you wrote little messages?
Yeah, I do remember that actually, yeah. Well, I mean, we do that all the time, don't we?
Well, we do, yeah, we do that every anniversary of Dad's passing. We write little messages onto notes, tie them to balloons, don't we? And then we let them go. It's just our way of remembering you.